Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to today's video. So we've finally come to the end of 2020. This has certainly been a very challenging and unusual year for many people. And we've seen so many different things happen this year. And even now with this video, you can see that there are four of us and we're all in different locations. Some of us in Canada, some of us outside Canada, and in different parts of Canada. But I thought it would be a good idea for all of us here at Lowe and Company to have this sort of 2020 roundup to look at what has happened this year, talk a little bit about that, and then also to look forward to 2021 and look at what's in store for us and what's on our wish list. But before I begin, I think just a short introduction of everyone here. So first of all, Jeffrey Lowe, who is the principal of Lowe and Company. And Jeffrey, this is the 30th anniversary of the firm being established in Canada. Is that correct?
That's right. And, you know, it's interesting. 2020 is an interesting year. We all had 30th anniversary presentations planned, but unfortunately, due to COVID, we had to cancel them. In the meantime, we'll just have to do things virtually. But I'm calling from Singapore and glad to be with you all.
Great. And so next up also Vivien Lee, who is our senior immigration consultant. Hi, Vivien.
Hi, everyone. Good to be with you.
Great to have you. And finally, Stan. Stan is also another lawyer, and he's joining us from Winnipeg.
Yeah, wintry Winnipeg, so very much the place to be if you want a white Christmas, and very different from Vancouver, but glad to be here.
So you're the only one with a white Christmas this year then?
Of us, of this group, yes.
This year, okay. Well, let's sort of just jump into things. I mean, I thought the first thing that we want to look at, and certainly this year has affected a lot of people, but I think more so for people in the family class. So Vivien, maybe you can kick us off with some of the things that happened this year that affected people in the family class.
Yeah, certainly. In the family class, there are lots of people who are really looking forward to be reunited with family reunification. And we submitted a lot of cases in the beginning of the year and even towards the end of 2019. When COVID started, it kind of put a halt to a lot of people's life, and people are kind of getting very concerned about when are they ever going to be reunited with their spouse again. They're in lockdown and everything. But, you know, immigration IRCC they have been really putting up with a lot of remedies in a way, like in the middle of 2020, they announced that they were doing phone interviews for some of the cases, and many of my clients went through the phone interview and eventually they got there.
Yeah, I think we've certainly seen IRCC taking steps to adapt to the changes because, you know, with the lockdown initially in the spring, a lot of the offices were closed and we found that officers were not able to get back to the office to work on applications and family class applications predominantly are paper-based.
Right.
So, but they have introduced some changes to that. Correct?
Yeah, they're trying to digitize the paper-based application. And I think it's coming along, you know, even with biometrics. You know, a lot of people from overseas, some of the VACs are closed. They couldn't get their biometrics done. But in the end, IRCC introduced a policy where they would allow, if they had done their biometrics within the last 10 years, they were allowed to use those biometrics records for the present PR application. So that was good.
Yeah. And I read somewhere that there has been some commitment by IRCC to try and finalize applications by the end of this year to expedite some finalization. Is that correct?
Yes, they are trying to actually speed up applications. So they are trying to finalize at least approximately about 6,000 spousal application by the end of December 2020, which is coming along. I see that a lot of my clients have been, in fact, some of those that were waiting for a while, they recently got approved. So you can see that things are really speeding up for the family class, definitely.
Well, that's good to know, because definitely a lot of people have been waiting this year, and you know, when spouses are unable to reunite, that causes somewhat you know, some hardship. Now, what about in terms of parent sponsorship? Like I think earlier in the year, people were expecting the new parent sponsorship scheme to come out in early part of the year, and then that kind of didn't happen.
Yeah, the parent sponsorship, as we know, they have introduced the, they took in a number of people were able to make the online expression, and many of our clients have done the online expression, and they're not taking in anymore now, and I guess everyone is waiting for the invitation to apply, which they are. What they are saying is that they are inviting about 10,000 people to apply for the 2020 intake. So we are all looking forward to that.
Yeah. So the expression of interest, I mean, that only happened in October, November. Is that correct?
Right.
And has anybody received an invitation till now? Do you know?
IRCC has not put out the invitation to apply yet, but it should be forthcoming.
Okay. Well, we're still waiting eagerly on that. I mean, a lot of clients are, but I suppose the good news is that, you know, they are expanding the number of applications for next year. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, they are definitely. For 2020, they mentioned the number of 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
For 2020, it's certainly going to be at least double.
Yeah, I think there's a commitment for them to absorb about 30,000
That's right.
applications for next year. And you know, I mean, those are all good news and grounds for hope. And definitely the hope is that, you know, there will be resources poured into IRCC to try and move these along a lot quicker, so that families can be reunited again.
Yes, that's all under the family class, and IRCC is definitely moving forwards towards reunification of family members, including their latest COVID policy on uniting immediate family members, or even the non-immediate family members, so to say, like people who were in long-term relationship, and some of them were applying to visit.
Mm. So let's change gears a little bit here and talk a little bit about the business class. So Jeffrey, anything unusual happened this year in the business category?
Well, it's interesting. The federal business class immigration for entrepreneurs and investors has been closed since 2014, and each year it was supposed to be paused temporarily, but then temporarily became semi-permanent. And right now, the only real business immigration categories for entrepreneurs wanting to come to Canada and establish a business are either provincial nominee programs, and BC and Ontario being the largest economies with those, other than Quebec. But also there's a strategy that we've developed called the Canadian Business Experience Class, which allows people to come to Canada with work permits to establish a business in anywhere from Used to be between 3 weeks and 2 months. Now it's extended from about 6 weeks to 3 months, three and a half months. But that's been very useful. The Canadian Business Experience Strategy is a strategy that we've used where we bring people over with work permits and later apply for immigration after they've established their business here. And they can apply for immigration under a provincial nominee program or a skilled worker program or a number of other strategies. So this is quite interesting because we've been able to bring people over with work permits to buy or establish businesses from the US under the Canada-US-Mexico Agreement, or CUSMA, which is a former NAFTA, to the EU from with the EU citizens with the Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement, to intercompany transfers, which we've done that for clients from India, the UK, US, and other countries. And so this is quite interesting.
I see.
I believe there's a lot of people.
Yeah, so I think
Sorry.
if I understand what you're saying is that, you know, we have been actually working with a lot of clients to tailor make a lot of their immigration pathways, because the previous business pathways, a lot of them were sort of paused, and we've had to sort of tailor make pathways for our clients. Is that right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's required a bit of innovation and creativity, but it's useful. And in the last few weeks, we consulted with clients from India, US, Bangladesh, the Emirates, UK, and even Vietnam. So the strategy that we've developed opens up business immigration to people from virtually any country in the world. So that's really quite exciting. It's one of the things that we're looking forward to in 2021, to be able to help more business immigrants from all over the world invest into businesses or buy over businesses or establish new businesses in Canada.
Now, Jeffrey, you also had a very interesting sort of insight into, you know, international students who are in Canada and, you know, who may be wanting to immigrate, but we found that statistically that could be quite difficult as well.
Yes, this is one of the secrets of the so-called secrets in immigration, is that while Canada has promoted international students, and the number of international students in Canada went from around 220,000 in around 2013 to almost 700,000 by 2020. It's just exploded. And many of those students are from places like India and China and Vietnam and Nigeria who want to immigrate. However, statistically speaking, in 2019, there was only 11,000 former students that were able to immigrate to Canada. So the odds are pretty low. However, there are ways that we can help clients improve their odds for their particular case. So we're working with Vivien and others, Vivien, Stan, and Robert, to try to devise different pathways and strategies for clients, which sometimes even includes starting their own business.
Yes.
That's quite exciting.
Yeah, so I've known you to be very innovative and you know, you always come up with very brilliant ideas for some of our clients. And what's the title that you have in our firm again?
Chief Inspirational Officer.
Exactly. So definitely, you know, for a lot of students who may have come to Canada to study and after graduating find that they still have difficulty immigrating, definitely we have helped clients like that to look at certain pathways. Stan, can you say a little bit about what's happened this year with Express Entry?
Certainly. Well, heading into 2020, in 2019, the minimum score required to receive an invitation under the Express Entry system, we saw a significant rise in scores heading into 2020. That didn't change for most of 2020. With COVID, there were some unique circumstances that arose. Something that people don't always realize about the Express Entry system is that the government does not have to invite every program each time. And so one of the things that we saw that was a product of the circumstances of COVID was that at one point they were only inviting people who had Canadian experience class eligibility, and that saw some of the minimum scores required for an invitation dropped significantly to numbers that we hadn't seen in a long time. And so that presented a unique opportunity for some of the people who had already created Express Entry profiles. If I had to kind of sum up the Express Entry system and the effect of COVID on it, it presented some unique circumstances or unique opportunities, but it's also just caused a lot of havoc. So for those who were, as I mentioned, who had profiles, there was a unique opportunity to get an invitation, but actually going through processing, that's been a challenge. And so one of the things that we've been noticing is that processing times have increased significantly, even for people who applied before 2020. So, there's some applications that have just been delayed for a few months longer than even the standard processing time of 6 months, which is what the government aims for Express Entry-based applications. And now, I know we have discussed this before, Robert, about immigration levels planning, but one of the issues about COVID and the travel restrictions that have been brought in and the impact that has had on program completion is that a lot of people, even if they were approved for permanent residence, such as through the Express Entry system this year, they sometimes had difficulty landing, completing the process of actually coming to Canada and becoming a permanent resident. And so it's just created an interesting nexus of issues that are slowly unraveling and being dealt with. But a lot was made about how immigration levels planning announced a couple months ago was like the numbers that they announced were very, very high.
Yeah, I think that's created a lot of buzz, right? I mean, there's a lot of buzz about levels plans with increased numbers. There's a lot of buzz about the large draws that we've been having, a lot of buzz about the points dropping. That has certainly given some hope to some people.
Indeed. It's certainly something to monitor moving forward, but one of the underlying reasons why that has happened is just because there has been so much disruption this year. Many people have been waiting to come to Canada and have their applications processed. So how this works into the numbers, we'll have to see. But the large rounds of invitations lately have been interesting to see, and it seems like it might be part of an effort to make up for some of the lower numbers that happened just because of the delays this year with processing. But how long that keeps up, we'll find out. But for people who are in the pool and who have been close to the minimum required scores to get an invitation, it has been an interesting time to see the scores start dropping, because it may be with these large invitations, some people might end up having that chance to get their invitation.
So certainly things to look out for in the new year, I think. We've always told clients, if, and Jeff, you've always said this, there's no better time than now. If you wanted to do something, you want to get into the Express Entry, if you're eligible, don't wait. You should definitely try and do it as soon as possible. Yeah, this year, I mean, not only has it affected immigration processing, but we've seen that COVID-19 also affected the borders, because there have been border restrictions with some people being allowed in, some people not being allowed in. And that created a lot of confusion even now, because there are so many different orders depending on where you're arriving from. They have these orders that change every month, are renewed every month. So we always have to be on the lookout for any new changes. And on top of that, there's the quarantine order, which requires mandatory isolation after entering Canada. And that has also affected a lot of people, because there are exemptions to the quarantine, but then it's sometimes unclear about whether a person would be eligible for exemption, because there are provincial definitions of what is essential, and there's the federal definition of what is essential. And overall, it's just been a very challenging. And I've sort of mentioned that spent so much time this year just trying to analyze all the different orders and advising people. And I think generally a lot of people are trying not to travel as much as they can. But I think we foresee that with the vaccines coming in, vaccination programs being rolled out in Canada and across the world, that air travel will resume in some form or other soon. And that would again lead to some changes in the border restrictions, and that's certainly something to look at. Just wanted to ask whether you guys have any last thoughts before we sign off. Vivien, any last thoughts?
Well, certainly we have a lot of clients who are anticipating that 2021 is going to be a bountiful year for the family class too, because we have so many people from outside wanting to get in. And as we are speaking, we have a number of clients who have applied even for the TRV, trying to get to see the spouse, maybe hopefully in the new year, just for a visit. But we'll see how it goes, because those are certainly on the wish list of a lot of people, being able to see their loved ones.
Definitely. Reunification is one of the objectives of the IRPA, of the Immigration Act. So that is really something that we all look at very closely. And so I'm going to jump to Stan. Any last thoughts before we round off?
Looking into 2021, some thoughts for the upcoming year. It's going to be intriguing to see we didn't talk about this earlier, but like with the announcement of special programs for Hong Kong residents, it is going to be very interesting to see how that unfolds and is fit into levels planning and just overall processing for immigration applications. And the other thing on a more practical level really is, this year I've seen how with the economy being the way it has been, and the disruptions from COVID, a lot of immigrants who typically would require a job offer to come to Canada, the job offers have just not been maybe quite as plentiful as before. And as a result, that has been impactful on certain individuals. So, as you mentioned, as the vaccinations unfold and as the recovery begins, it will be. I'm looking forward to seeing some more opportunities like that come forward for a lot of prospective immigrants and people who are planning, because even just getting work experience this year has been more challenging than usual. And that's something that, we talked about international students earlier, international students in particular. That's going to be something that getting work experience in Canada is very valuable. So as that improves, that should hopefully help many people in their effort to find a way to immigrate to Canada.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, certainly. I just want to mention about international students. A lot of them have a big wish list that, you know, hopefully that they may even be able to get something out of IRCC to have their post-graduation work permit extended. We don't know how it's going to unfold, because basically for those students who had a 3-year work permit, a lot of them are saying they basically wasted a whole year without work. So let's see what IRCC will come up with.
It's certainly been a very unpredictable year for international students. I mean, you know, we've seen a number of them getting kicked out of the U.S. because of the policies there, and then for whatever reason they're looking at Australia, they're looking at UK, and Canada has sort of come up to the forefront now for a lot of people, just because of, you know, the way that the schools have adapted to the COVID-19, and also because there are clearer pathways, you know, presumably for permanent residents. So that's something to look out for, definitely. So the last word to you, Jeffrey, with your wise and inspirational words for everyone.
John Maxwell, he's a leadership author. He once said, policies are many, principles are few. Policy will change, principles never do. And as we look forward to 2021, I see that there's lots of opportunities. Lots of opportunities for students, for business people, for skilled workers, for family reunification, even and for refugees, humanitarian, compassionate grounds cases. But these are complex issues. And so one of the things that we always advise people is you need to get wise counsel to guide you through the process. Otherwise, you're on your own. And in our firm, we've been privileged to be able to act for clients from over 70 countries. And we treat each one as a special case and for special strategies and tailor-made strategies. So we're looking forward to 2021 and being able to help people from all over the world. Thanks, Robert, for organizing this. And this has been a challenging 2020, but it's going to be a great 2021.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody. And all that are watching and listening in, wishing everybody a happy new year. See you in the new year, 2021. Thank you.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year,
Keep
everyone.
safe.